Guys, so normally on Sunday I do a weekly wrap up, but I'm going to push that off until tomorrow because I want to include Sunday because I'm participating in the romance takeover buddy read a thon or something is what it's called. But because normally I do Sunday to Saturday, but I want to include Sunday as well. Anyway, sorry if you hear any background noise. I have my dishwasher running. I don't know about you, but ever since we've been staying at home, I've been cooking a lot, and so it's like I feel like the dishwasher is like going on overtime with washing all those dishes. But as far as my month's gone, I have my TBR here that it's my first ever time doing a TBR for like the full month. Normally I do a TBR that's like 10 or so books, and that's nowhere near the amount of books I read, but it just gives me like something to focus on, and then I just tack on books as I go along. If I see something on BookTube or something pops up in my library or grabs my attention, things like that. But this month for March, not this month, April, but for March, because I was participating in so many different things, I was participating in March of the Mammoths, Middle Grade March, and March Mystery Madness, and so also I was finishing up books for the BookTube prize, and so that right there gave me some structure that I wanted to focus on. So I started off here with mysteries, and I'm not going to go through all of these books, but the ones I've blocked out are ones I ended up either DNFing or just not getting to, and the ones where I didn't highlight, like I added one new mystery that wasn't originally on my TBR, but everything that's highlighted I read, and so I read 18 mysteries, and then I read of course I had to read 3 books for the BookTube prize, and I've already done a video on my thoughts for those. And then I read 3 mammoths. I originally, crazy enough, had 5. I don't know what we're all thinking. I had 5 mammoths, but I ended up reading Cold Warriors, Outlander, and Big Wonderful Thing, all about Texas. So I read those 3. And then for the middle grade books, I ended up reading 21. And then I just added in Long Winter, and I read 2 more Babysitter's Club books. But Long Winter I added because this whole like stay-at-home thing really reminded me of Laura like on the prairie, and how the only outings. Sorry, my dog wants to pass through here. I don't want him to knock over the camera. I'll see if I can get him to come through without destroying things. Okay, move along. You can't stay right here on my lap. He's been like Winnie has been my little lap warmer, and Tucker has been like on my feet or like my a footstool, and so they've been keeping me lots of company. So anyway, Long Winter I wanted to read because it's really reminding me of this whole like stay at home. Like we have it so good because we have the internet, we have heat and air conditioning, and like, insulated walls, and like the Long Winter was I've only read it I think once before. This is only my second time reading it, and it was a doozy. Like I remember how brutal it can be, and like I've read a couple biographies on Laura Ingalls Wilder, and he's talking about how it wasn't just one winter. Like the book just talks about it's like just a year, but it was a huge like long like 7-month long like blizzard conditions, and but it was actually 3 years, which I can't imagine. Like she was talking about how her and her father were like twisting hay to keep the fire going. And they were all like huddled around the little stove because there's no, like on the prairie, there's no, like on the plains, there isn't a lot of wood, and even if there was, they didn't have a lot of money to purchase it because they had just settled in the South Dakota area, and they hadn't got lots of like harvesting time in like crops and all that. Like their hands just like hurting so much from twisting hay. Like you can just imagine like throwing that hay into the fire and how fast it just dissolves, and anyway. So I'm really thankful for what I have. I can't complain really. I mean, like for everything that we have. Well, I don't know. I just went off a tangent there. But then I also read after reading all of these books, like the mysteries and the middle grade and all of that, I really wanted to switch it up, and so I read four romance, 2 YA, and 1 memoir, which was a Bill Bryson book because I needed some comedy, but I had, besides the Mammoth, I didn't have any nonfiction in my TBR, and so I wanted to read one of those. So in total, I did it when I was doing my vlogs. I kind of went off track there, but I was like breaking out each week like where I was at on my TBR and like crossing things off. But so this is my first time also like counting how many pages I read and how many books, and because like I just like when I sit down to do my monthly wrap ups, I just look briefly over how many books I read, and I'll tell you the total there. But I never break down the pages. So I read a total of 16,630 pages, and that averages out to 554 a day, and that's a total of 53 books, and that's a lot higher than I normally read. I normally read between like 30, or most of it averages around 30. So yeah, so that's like a lot, 23 more books. But this year I feel like I read a lot more than I ever have before. And of course, with like staying at home, like not being able to go out, I've picked up a bunch more. And then also the middle grade. I think middle grade is really what bumped it up for me to make that huge crazy number, because I know like a lot of people, 50 books or 52 books is like their like a Goodreads goal for the year. but yeah, the middle grade really, I think, is what tweaked it there. So now, after I've gone through all of that, I'm going to talk about my favorites of the month, because normally that's what I focus on, is my favorites, because you can see why I do my weekly wrap-ups, because 53 books, if I'm going to sit here and do 53 books all at once, it's just, I'm going to forget stuff, and you're just going to you're going to forget what I'm talking about and not pay attention. So anyway, for my favorites, I chose 2 middle grade and 3 mysteries. And so Pippi Longstocking was one. If I can get it to come up, I just hit the wrong button. By Astrid Lindgren. I've never read this, and so I used middle grade March to prompt me to read some of the classics. And I've watched the cartoon version of this many times as a kid, and I loved it. It was one of my favorites. So, it's about a strong, independent young girl who has her own sense of style and sense of self. And so yeah, it's about time I read this, and this didn't disappoint at all. It's like I said, she's a strong, independent girl, and she doesn't have any parents. She's living alone, and she encounters her neighbors who are around her age, and they take her off to school, and she just, even with the teacher, she's not going to listen to the teacher either. She's like, the teacher asks her, like, for example, like a math question, like, what's 2 plus 2? And it's like, and she's like, teacher, why are you asking me this? You already know the answer. Why bother me? I'm sitting here, I want to go play. Like, don't bother me with whatever you got going on. So yeah, I love this book, and yeah, if you haven't picked it up, then yeah, highly recommend that one. And then my other middle grade favorite was The Remarkable Journey of Coyote Sunrise, and this it's by Dan Gemmenhart, and this is kind of has a lot of similarities to Pippi Longstocking, and they're both redheads because they're both independent young girls who have interesting parents. Well, Pippi Longstocking didn't have parents, but they both have interesting parent dynamics, and they don't have like the most normal of upbringings. In this one, you can see the school bus in the cover here, and that plays a huge role in this story, because her and her father and her family are all living in Washington, and there's this huge devastating thing that happens where she loses half of her family, and so she's left with just her and her father, and so her father just cannot take staying in this town with all the reminders of everything he used to have, and so him and her, a coyote, go on a huge adventure, and they just travel all over America, and just to keep the past in the past and to stay in the present, and not really have any plans for the future either. But she finds out that this memory box that she has buried in a park, the park is going to be renovated, like destroyed, and like I think apartment buildings were going to be put in place, and so she wants to go back and dig up that box, because that's like the only like memorabilia she has of her siblings. And so she doesn't tell her father what she's doing, because she knows if she tells him, like, I'm gonna go back to this hometown, he's not gonna do it. And so she kind of like sneakily gets him to go in that direction from Florida all the way up to Washington. But along the way, they meet this huge cast of very interesting group of characters, some her age, some older, and yeah, this is just a fantastic book. And then for my mysteries, I have 4 that were made it to my favorite. So I total 6 books. No, I featured just 5. But this is The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. This is the first book I've read by her, and I just saw so many people talking about it on BookTube. So it intrigued me. And again, this was very creepy. I don't really read a lot of horror, but when I do, it doesn't doesn't scare me that much. I mean, I get like, ooh, what's happening? But I'm not like freaked out. And this one, just the description of this like rundown, seedy motel, and it's like it's a ghost story. Yeah, I was definitely a little bit leery of the dark and things like that. So yeah, if a book can scare me, like actually like evoke some emotion, then that's saying something. But yeah, this is about it's like a dual timeline. It's following a woman who like escapes her hometown and wants to set up a life for herself, and so she ends up working at a motel, and she's finding about these ghosts who are like haunting the hotel, and then she disappears, and then it's following her niece who is in like more present day. This happened in the 80s, and then in present day in the 2000, I think 17 or 18 with the current day, she is going and like digging up newspapers, and also gets a job, the same exact time. It's a night shift, of course. So yeah, she's kind of like reliving her aunt's past, and finding out what's happening. What I didn't like about this book is the timelines, like because it flips back and forth. So each chapter is the different character, the aunt and then the niece, and it goes back and forth. Is that like you find out what the aunt's doing, and then and then the niece also uncovers that piece of the clue, and so it got a bit confusing for me. I was like, who knows what, basically. But overall, yes, it was very good. And then my other favorite was The Sandman. If I can get it to loading slowly. The Sandman by Lars Kepler. And this is the 4th book in the Juna Lena series. And this was also more of the creepy side of things, because there's this man who is locked up in this like almost like a sane asylum in a way, like it's like high security place where he's not allowed any visitors, and no one's allowed to talk to him. So he's in like captivity in a prison with zero contact with anyone, because he was like brutally like not just murdering people, but also keeping them hostage for long periods of time. And he was starving them to death. And so when the cops found some of his victims, they were so malnourished and for such a long period of time, like their memory and their brains were like mush, basically. And so so he's in this severe lockdown, and but no one's allowed to talk to him because they think if you talk to him, he's going to get in your head and control what you're doing. He's gonna make you do things even if you don't want to, even though you know he's a bad guy. And so yeah, it's following a someone that's on the police force who is playing like I can't think of the name, but she's going in to pretend she's a prisoner as well, just to get more information from him, because there's another victim that it's following the same patterns as his victim before he was caught. And so they think he somehow is getting people to do what he wants, and is capturing more people. And so they want to find out. And so yeah, this was very gripping and creepy as well. And then the other favorite is No Safe Place by Sherry Shackelford. And this is a love-inspired suspense. This is the first love-inspired suspense I've ever read. And I was thoroughly surprised by this Harlequin series genre. I don't know what you call it, because I wasn't expecting it to love it as much as I did, because it just starts off with a bang and it just keeps you running the whole entire time. It's about a girl who's like on the run. People constantly chasing her. They go through a cornfield. They go through like a festival, and there's a romance involved as well. And so yeah, this was very good. And then the other book, it disappeared on me. Yeah, well, I guess we won't include that one because little icon is I accidentally exited out. But yeah, those are really my favorites in a way. So I don't know how to edit, so I don't want to like sit here and like type it in and find it. But yeah, I read quite a few really good mystery series, and so yeah, it's one of my I think I mentioned when I was first doing my March TBR. One of the reasons why I put so many mysteries on my plate was because they're like my first loves of reading. What really got me into reading was mysteries, and so there's quite a few on on my TBR that like I'm in the middle of, or ones I've been wanting to get to. I just like add them to my Goodreads, and then they just sit there. And so one of my projects for this whole year is to knock some of those books off, like books I put on there and then just forget about, because I don't have like physical shelves to represent, these are the books I want to get to. I mean, I have a few. I added them up and I have like 18 books left for my physical TBR to get to. But so anyway, I don't have that like nudge, and so I want to read like just random books off my shelf just to see like am I still interested in them or what. So anyway, I think I just want to talk is what I'm just like going on and on here, because we're all in isolation, and I don't have anyone to talk to sit here, except I'm like staring at myself. So I'm like, hi, Lindsay. I don't know. Anyway, I hope my April is as good as March was. And this was interesting for me to do this project of like setting out all the books I want to read. And I still like branched off at the end, like that last week where I was reading. I think I read like 15 or so that wasn't on my TBR. But it was an interesting project for me to do, to like force myself to write everything out before the month began. And I might implement that in the future if there is a readathon that I'm really interested in. Then I might make a more set TBR. But I think I'm going to go back to just focusing on like what I was originally doing, just focusing on 10 books that I want to get to in the month. But as for April, with everything up in the air and all this chaos going, I'm just going to do a weekly set, like hone in, and just do weekly TBRs, because you never know what's going to happen week to week with everything that's just going on. So anyway, let me know if you read any of these books, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, BookTube.